To get started on this project, the first thing we need to do is to be able to collect some raw data that we can later turn into our visuals for our graphic. For my example, I'm going to be using rice as my food group, and the 5 or 6 different things I want you to look up can be broken into a couple of different groups. First off, the first 3 different questions or things I want you to research can all be found on the Food and Agricultural Organization site for the United Nations, FAO.org. This particular website collects data and information for food production and worldwide distribution, and so it gives you a lot of really great tables and spreadsheets that we can download. Now, to be able to find this data, here's how we're going to do it. You can go to the FAO.org and go to their data link at the very top. Give it a second to load. And you can see there's a lot of different things that can be found. We primarily want to focus on the production value for their crops and livestock products. So when you click here, this will take us to this set of data. From here, again, there's a lot of different data that can be broken down to individual countries, specific products, or specific yields. What we want to do is, to make it easy, click on Visualize Data. This will open up their visual data patterns. Give it a second to load. And you can see once it loads, you can pick between a variety of items, country and region, and a year date, and also how you want everything to be averaged together. As you scroll down, this will give you an idea of the kind of data graphs that you can create and what we can do with the data that's given. Now, some of these we're going to create on our own in Illustrator, so this is going to be just a starting point. The first thing we need to do is to find the food that you're going to be working on. Now, by default, the rice just happened to come up, but you can pick and choose. They're all listed in alphabetical order from here. So with your food selected, since the first thing we're looking for are the top 10 producers in the most current year we can find. So I want this to be worldwide for my selection. So I can go down to the very bottom where I can type in world. We want the total world. And the most current year, if I scroll to the very top, will be 2020 in our case. In this case, we'll just do it for 1 year. And as far as aggregation goes, we can just keep it the average of it. Now, as I scroll down, I can start to find some information from here. First off, you get a nice little world map of how much is produced worldwide. We can actually use this data in our world map itself. To do that, to download any of the data, you can click on the little download, and this will download it as a CSV, a comma separated value. Going back up here, let's see if we can find the top 10 producers. So scrolling all the way to the bottom, here we are here. So here's the top 10 producers of this one, and you can see all the different countries to work from. We'll download it, and we'll place this on here too. One thing to be aware of, when you download the data, it's going to name it the same thing for everything. So be aware of what data is being downloaded. In this case, I want to keep both of them, and I'm going to rename this my top 10 producers. And this is my world map. The other thing is how much rice production has grown in the last 10 years. So to do this, we'll scroll back to the top. I need to change my date to have a 10-year span. So we'll go back to 2010 to 2020. And again, we'll scroll down. And here's our crop yield for the past 10 years. One thing to note about this particular timeline is that you've got a blue line for area harvested and a red line for world production. So what's the difference between harvested and production? Well, the red line is how much was planted that year. So that's how many seeds or how much tonnage was actually planted. The blue line is how much was harvested or actually was grown and brought in. So usually it's going to be lower than the amount that's actually planted, depending on rainfall and a lot of other factors. So we definitely want this one, so we'll download it. And again, as soon as I download it and I keep it, we're going to rename it something appropriate. So this was 10-year harvest. And then finally from here, we want to see the production share for the top producers, for in our case, all of the different continents. Yours may be a different set of countries as well. Again, if we scroll down, here's our production share for all of the different regions that we have selected. You can see all of those listed out here, and we'll download this one. And we'll rename it. With these top 3 questions answered, we no longer need to use this website. We can now focus on creating and finding information about the nutritional breakdown of your food. To do this, we're going to use nutritionvalue.org. Again, you can find this information on a lot of different places. I happen to like this one because it breaks it down really, really well. Now I can enter my food name here. If I do rice, keep in mind there's a lot of different things that can fall under rice. So sometimes I like to add the word raw to it, and this will break it down even farther. You can see even raw rice can be broken down into white or brown rice, anything from here. Try to find the closest that you can for your particular food. In my case, I just want long grain white rice or wild rice, and this is the nutritional value that I'm going to use for this one. Now from here you can see the traditional nutritional facts breakdown. Another good thing to do to make it a little bit easier to break down the numbers is to change your proportion size. Instead of it being 1 solid cup, change it to a simple 100 grams. This will make it easier to break down the amount of calories per gram or the amount of percentages or totals per gram as well. You do get a couple of different charts pre-made for you, but we want to download our spreadsheet of data and use this spreadsheet in our final design. So I'm going to place this on here. This will be my rice nutrition values. With this done, we can finally focus on doing some interesting facts and any other data. Now to do research for these interesting facts, I recommend using a website like Healthline. With this, you can search a variety of different foods. I'm just going to type in rice, and I can find a variety of different little blogs and write-ups about uses of rice and different kinds of rice. So everything from rice, is it safe to eat, or is rice a grain, anything that comes up along with this. Again, I'm only looking for any kind of facts or a timeline or just something that can fill in about using rice from here. So if I was to click on one, here's one quick and easy way I can, find some interesting places about this. Another place you can use is, of course, wikipedia.com. This will break down everything you ever wanted to know about rice. In my case, maybe a history of cultivation. This will give me a nice little timeline to work from. Here's again production, so I can get some more information about the processing, the trade, and the yields of using rice. And a final place to look online would be just a simple encyclopedia. So this is a background and breakdown of rice and getting some facts and figures from these different places too. To collect this information, we really don't know how much that we're going to need, but I don't need a whole lot. I certainly don't want to copy the entire page. So for this one, maybe I'll just create a new notepad, and I would go through and start to copy and paste some interesting facts or timeline of events to be able to use in mine as well. Once we've got all of these done, so I've got all the different little spreadsheets for the nutritional data, I've got some for my top producers, and stuff for my world map, then we can start pulling these in and using them to create our graphs and bar charts for our infographic.